Hi everyone, my name is Kate. Welcome back to my wondernetting channel. Today we are going to crochet adorable baby cardigan. This one. I made mine for around 3 months old. I haven't made one like this before, so I just wanted to crochet something like this in advance. The great thing about this pattern is that you can easily adapt it to any baby size, or even make a similar one for an adult. If you'd like me to make tutorial for an adult version, please let me know in the comments. This project is really easy and simple, and my tip is to take one of your baby sweaters or top and use it as a reference for the width, height, sleeve height, but if you don't have one, don't worry, I'll include measurement chart for any baby size in centimeters. I used just a bit more than 2 skeins of yarn for this cardigan. If I had used a slightly smaller hook, I probably would have needed only 2 skeins. I just had to grab the 3rd skein to finish my edging and add the side ties. So yarn consumption is really minimal. I can't try it on my daughter yet, but I'll definitely show you how it looks on her closer to winter on my Instagram. So alright, let's get started. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, like this video and leave your comment. And let's get started. So we'll need a little over 2 skeins of yarn. I'm using this one from Hobby. It's called Portobello. It's a beautiful dusty pink color, 120 meters in 50 grams. I'll leave the link to this yarn down below in the description, so definitely check it out. It's a mix of cotton, acrylic and wool, which makes it perfect for colder seasons like fall and winter. I'll also be using 5mm hook, yarn needle, scissors and maybe a smaller hook around 3mm for the cuffs. We'll be crocheting using yarn over slip stitch. That way we'll get a nice braid-like texture that looks a bit like a knit stitches. So let's start with the slip knot and make a foundation chain. I'm going to chain 12. I recommend focusing more on the length in centimeters rather than the number of chains, since that can vary depending on your yarn and tension. After that, we'll gradually increase the number of stitches to build up the height of the front panel. Yarn over, insert your hook into the 2nd chain from the hook, grab the yarn and pull it through. Now use that loop you just pulled up to go through the other 2 loops on your hook. Yarn over again, insert your hook into the next stitch and repeat the same thing. Continue like this all the way to the end of the row. We'll be using this yarn over slip stitch for the entire cardigan. I've reached the end of the row, so I'm chaining 1 and turning my work, then yarn over again and make the same stitch, but this time I'm working into the back loop only of that braid. We'll crochet like this across the whole row, and at the end we'll start making increases. We'll be adding stitches at the end of every 2nd row. I finished the row and now we are going to chain 3, turn our work and continue with the same stitches starting from the 2nd loop from the hook. That way we are adding 2 new stitches. Then just keep crocheting across the row as usual, working into the back loop. At the end, chain 1, turn your work and keep repeating the same pattern starting from the 2nd loop from the hook, and at the very end of the row we'll make another increase. I've reached the end of the row again, so we are chaining 3, turning our work and starting from the 2nd loop from the hook, repeating the same stitches. We'll keep working like this, adding increases in every even row until we reach the desired height. Once again, I recommend measuring the height in centimeters rather than counting rows. Here's what I've got so far. Let's count these raised braids. I've got 10 of them. The height is 22 centimeters and the width is 19 centimeters. Now we're going to crochet a few rows without any increases. Just chain 1, turn your work and start from the 2nd loop from the hook, keep working the same way. In the spots where we previously chained 3, we'll now chain just 1 and continue working down as usual. Crochet a few more rows until you reach the desired width of your cardigan. I've ended up with a total of 12 braids, which means I added 2 more raised braids without any increases. That's it it, we can now just chain 1, cut the yarn, and next we need to make the second piece exactly the same way. So I finished 2 front panels, and the back is super simple. We just need to make a rectangle. First, count how many stitches you have at the tallest part. In my case it's about 33 stitches. Now chain 33 plus 1 more, so add 1 to your number and start working from the second loop from the hook using the same yarn over slip stitch all the way down. No increases here, we're just making a rectangle that's slightly wider than one of the front panels. Here's the back panel. At the end I chained 1 and cut the yarn. Let's count the braids. I have 16 here, which is a little more than on the front panel. On the front we had 12 raised braids, and here we have 16. We do this so there is a bit of space on the sides for the cardigan ties. The width is 24 cm and the height is about 21 cm. Now let's make the sleeve. It's pretty simple, just another rectangle. I'm chaining 21, but you can adjust this based on the desired sleeve length. We'll crochet a rectangle again, and the width will depend on the child's age. Use the centimeter measurements you can see on the screen as a guide. So we're going to crochet the sleeve exactly the same way we did the back, just in a smaller size. Here's the rectangle we've got for the sleeve. Let's count the braids. I have 12 raised braids here. Now we can cut the yarn and start working on the sleeve cuff. The width is about 20 cm, so 10 cm when folded, and the height is about 12.5 cm. Once we add the cuff, the total sleeve height will be about 15 cm. Also pay attention to the direction of your braids, whether they're facing up or down, so everything lines up properly on the sleeves and the main body. For the sleeve cuff I'm going to use a smaller 3mm hook, so we'll start from the bottom. Insert the hook into this little bar, into this little loop above the braid, and make chain of 7, or however long you want your cuff. And starting from the second loop from the hook, work single crochets all the way down. Once you work 6 single crochets down, you'll reach a free loop like this. Make a slip stitch into it, and also a slip stitch into the loop above the braid right here. Turn your work and starting from the third chain from the hook without chaining, work 6 single crochets up. At the very end, chain 1 and turn your work. Starting from the second loop from the hook, work 6 single crochets down into the back loop only. Next, insert the hook into that free loop, make a slip stitch, and another slip stitch into the loop above the braid. Turn your work and starting from the third loop from the hook without chaining, work 6 single crochets up. Continue this way around the entire sleeve edge to make the cuff. At the very end, finish on the main sleeve part, chain 1 and cut the yarn. Now we are going to sew everything together. Place the 2 front panels onto the back panel and using either yarn needle or crochet hook, attach a few rows to the back. I'm using a crochet hook with slip stitches, working into the spaces between the braids and into the loop above each braid. Crochet until the front panel starts decreasing. Then do the same on the other side. Chain 1 and cut the yarn. Now plait the cardigan wrong side facing up and a sleeve wrong side facing up too. My sleeve has 23 rows, so we'll find the middle and evenly distribute it between the front and back panels. Since I have 23 rows, I'll attach 11 rows to the front, 11 to the back, and the last one will go right into the seam. If you have an even number of rows, just split them evenly between the front and back. I'll be joining the sleeves using slip stitches as well. On the sleeve, insert a hook into the loop above the braid. On the front panel, I count 11 stitches down from the shoulder seam and start joining with slip stitches upward. Then I insert the hook into the loop between the braids and into the next loop on the main body and crochet all the way to the top of the sleeve. At the end, chain 1 and cut the yarn. On the sides of the cardigan, also from the wrong side, I'm joining everything together with slip stitches as well. I insert the hook into each stitch, working my way up and sewing the side seam together along with the sleeve. At the very end, chain 1 and cut the yarn. And that's it. All that's left is to make a simple edging and add the ties. You can crochet the edging the same way we did the sleeve cuff, but I'll just go with the single crochets all around. I'll start from this corner and work my way up. When you reach these steps, the parts where the rows increase, I recommend making single crochets into the nearest 3 stitches you see next to your hook. Remember that we added 2 stitches there earlier, so make 2 single crochets for each step and 1 more into the top of the braid. Continue working single crochets all the way around the edge of the cardigan. I'm going to make 2 rows without turning the work, meaning once I reach the first stitch, I'll just keep going straight into the second round. On the back panel, I insert the hook into the space between the braids and into the loop above each braid. At the very end, after you've finished your 2 rounds, or however many you prefer for the edging, I also recommend going over each stitch with a slip stitch as final finishing row. This gives the edge a cleaner, neater look, though it's completely optional. For the ties, I chain about 35 stitches and starting from the second loop from the hook, I work slip stitches all the way down. Make sure to leave longer yarn tails so it's easier to sew them onto the cardigan. I attach the ties where I want them, viewing all the ends, and that's it. You can also add an inner tie on the inside part of the cardigan or even sew a few buttons, whichever you find more convenient. Here's our finished cardigan. As you can see, it's super easy to make and honestly, it's really simple to adjust for any size, even for an adult. So if you'd like to experiment, you can try making one for yourself using the same method. You'll just need to chain more stitches and make more rows, but the concept stays exactly the same. I thank you for watching this video. I'm sure you did it well. If you have any questions, please drop them in the comments or DM me on my Instagram. Also, don't forget to write me in the comments if you want to see the adult version of my channel or not. And we'll see you in the next video. Bye, kitties!